come together, they create the kind of kernel of existence, the kind of chi and animation that creates individual life. So when we take a moment and think of Hun as that ocean of awareness, becoming aware of itself in a very kind of soul-oriented way, that's what's moving through us in some sense as awareness. And Po is that ocean of phenomena that come and go and live and die, which creates a very certain sense of purpose and animation in life. Shen is the aspect of reality, or spirit is the aspect of reality that experiences reality, perhaps in the context of what I would call sacred reverence. And that's, I think, an important thing in this sense of spiritual practice. Yi, or awareness, the perception we have of experience, is somewhere again between attention and intention. And we often want to think of that as our interactive awareness. So coming to Zhi, that sense of willingness and willpower, there's an old statement in one of the old texts that say, when your spirit and your awareness direct your mind consistently and coherently, the will actually forms some kind of, you could say, spiritual intention in the universe, and it wants to orientate life towards completing that outcome, whatever it might be. So another way you can visualize the Wu Zhi, or the five wills, is to imagine five snakes. Now, I recognize this can get a little trippy or psychedelic, but just play with the imagery. We have these five snakes, and each one is a different color. It doesn't matter which colors, but just imagine five different colored snakes. Imagine five snakes that have different kind of facial expressions, different moods, if you will. And each one is on a different journey, and everyone knows that about each different kinds of snake. Like, you're this kind of snake, you want to go that way, or you want to eat that thing. So for some reason, the snakes decide, kind of on their own, and somehow they magically can, begin slithering and kind of swimming in the way that they do. But instead of on the surface of the world, they try and swim upwards, kind of through gravity towards the moon. Now, it turns out, the universe being the universe, that snakes on their own cannot fly to the moon. So the five snakes decide to wrap around each other and combine their chi to spiral upwards. And as they move upwards, gaining experience in cooperation and momentum of movement, they're all doing it for their own purpose, but they're also having to work together. And because of that, here are the five snakes spiraling upwards towards the moon. Every once in a while, each individual snake wants to go on its own journey in its own direction to meet the needs that it's actually trying to accomplish. And that creates a little bit of chaos, because imagine these five snakes are, going in one direction, and then one snake says, I want to go towards the sun. And maybe it tries to pull the other snakes, or it unravels and kind of goes off on its own. And then all the snakes fall, and then they get going again. So the reason I'm playing that visual metaphor is that without a collaborative unity of your five souls, your soul growth is going to be kind of chaotic and impulsive and, just doesn't really have a lot of long-term intention or practice or outcome. And that's actually where most of us start, and that's why it's a great image for that. After a while, you could say each snake, having different needs and natures, and having tried to go on their own, come to the realization that they have to shift their nature a little bit. You could say mature a little bit, so that all of the snakes find some consensus about where they are going, how they're going to get there, and maybe even in the sense of your whole life, where they're going to go for a period of time, taking turns as to who's guiding the journey. And that can be very important, I think. So with all of that having been said, the way they move forward and continue learning, there's a sense that at some point each of the snakes, each of the wills, each of our deeper conscious and unconscious needs will actually get where it's going. And you could say that's learning a little bit about self-trust and a lot about patience and being willing to learn as you go. So let's meet these inner guides, these parts of you that are mostly silent. They can only whisper to you through your dreams, through deep states of reverie. They sometimes show up in near-death experiences and sometimes during psychedelic journeys.